Garissa, northeastern Kenya. This is the entry route to northern part of Kenya from the capital Nairobi and vice versa. It is surrounded by the Kenyan coastal cities to the south and borders the neighboring Somalia on the northwest. Garissa was formerly the key capital of the three former major towns in northeastern Kenya before the new constitution, which has brought two levels of government. This has made Garissa an economic hub for the northern region due to the presence of the larger Garissa market and the livestock trading center. The town, according to the Kenya Population Census of 2019, Garissa is male-dominated, with the male population reaching close to 500,000 and the female population remaining approximately 400,000. Garissa is also divided into 7 smaller areas, locally known as sub-counties, to facilitate provision of services. The key source of livelihood for Garissa dwellers is livestock and agriculture. There remains a lot to be told about this great town, but first HABON ADEN, a cabinet executive member in the local administration, tells us a brief of the town.
Garissa County is the fast growing town in northern Kenya. What is unique about Garissa? Garissa is it's hosting the biggest refugee in East Africa. We are having the refugees in Dadaab, Ifo. We have 3 refugee camps in Garissa, in Dadaab sub-county, which has close to 1 million people. And you can imagine the magnitude of climate change resulting from a community that is more than the indigenous community of Garissa County. Human activity contributes to climate change. We are not exceptional because we are hosting that big number. Being a business hub for Northeastern and Tana River, you can just imagine a lot of activities that are going on that contributes to climate change.
Despite Kenya's rise and the transformation of different parts of the country, Garissa's population has held on its nomadic culture and lifestyle, and the households continue to preserve their nomadic way of living, from housing, clothing to even their materials. But despite this, Garissa continues to face challenges whose root cause remains climate-related matters. From flooding, which has even most recently displaced thousands of farmers and families, to famine, which has forced the pastoralists to relocate from their original locations, the different climatic patterns have been unfavorable to the locals here. Garissa is among the arid and semi-arid regions of Kenya, which occupies 89% of the country's land, affecting a population of about 16 million people, which is a third of the entire population of the country. For decades, the locals in this area remained marginalized, seen as unproductive, with the news on cattle rustling, drought, insecurity and poverty dominating the headlines. Under these arid and semi-arid lands, from an aerial view, the devastating challenges of climate change and the environment can be seen. From season to season, the drylands transform and disappear, making the inconsistency a tough condition to bear. This area will remain empty for now, and no one knows till when the pastoralists will return. At times, the locals cause destruction on themselves and their own environment in order to survive, like cutting trees to produce energy or charcoal. When the consequences occur, the pastoralists are therefore forced to find means of survival times and again, making it common for the governments to establish temporary solutions like water pans and relief support. The water pans here are the only hopes of saving the farmers and their livestock from starvation. The situation worsened from the beginning of last year, 2019, and to early this year, when the locust invasion affected the East African region before the COVID-19 global pandemic hit even harder, affecting the economy of the herdsmen. ABDINOOR HUSSEIN is the director of special programs in this region, and he has visited many areas. He gives us a clear picture of the situation.
We had the locust invasion, locusts that had actually come all the way from the Middle East, entering Kenya through Mandera and parts of actually Liboi, which is also part of Garissa. So the locusts have been with us again right from December. we've been battling with the locusts from December up to sometime in May. And you can imagine the locusts were here last in 1953. That is actually before even independence. So we had a very rough time battling with the locusts. We were not prepared for it. So we had to use all the conventional methods to scare it away, using the blowing of horns, using whistles, clapping of hands, getting people who could shout the loudest, just to scare them away.
The communities in this place also find themselves at the center of conflict during struggle for resources, and as a result, famine facilitated hostilities and communal clashes are common, as Director ABDINOOR narrates.
So actually during droughts we have also witnessed clashes. That is community clashes over pasture, community clashes over water. Maybe in a nutshell I can say resource-related clashes, community clashes. You find a community in a certain area moving with the animals, far distant areas, and without even knowing that they have actually crossed even the boundary to maybe another sub-county or even to Somalia, even across other countries. And eventually here there are clashes, and the rural communities, just like the way we have been having stories of other parts of Kenya, especially in parts of Upper Rift Valley. At times, nomadic communities, clash and fight using even sophisticated weapons, which could be dangerous. So, resource-related conflicts are actually very common during the drought period, over resources of water, over I should say pasture, when we have inadequate pasture, and so. Communities are not able to accommodate each other. This is now where we come in, and we're actually involved in building the cohesion and integration.
But when emergency humanitarian responses are available and the families find alternative support, peace dominates as the communities coexist in harmony. This boosts the adaptation to climate-related challenges as their key concerns are addressed. The unsustainability of the humanitarian response has called for the need to put in place policy measures, and as a result, Garissa County has made efforts to find a lasting solution through bills and legislations, as local Minister HABON tells us.
We have an environment management bill, or rather act, that is helping us to manage our environment. Anybody or any organization that happens to transgress to our environment, we have a legal framework to address that.
At the center of climate and gender circumstances remain the women. MARIAM HUSSEIN works for a local NGO and has been actively involved in gender programs in this area.
The vulnerability of women and girls have even been taken more during situations of emergencies, whereby we have drought, we have famine, we have and floods, or even the locust invasion. But for the women, and now we tend to feel like the women are not able to, for example, participate in making decisions whenever such kind of emergency situation erupts. So, for example, you might find a situation whereby there is drought, and it forces this certain community or household to move. So the woman cannot even make that simple decision of how many animals are going to stay behind. And one thing that we have to put into consideration and always understand is that in a pastoralist community, the role of women is known as the hidden hand, because it's normally appreciated as a very important and critical tool in pastoralist production system.
On the other hand, KATRA HUSSEIN, a local cultural women leader who has been an integral part of the community to empower women, is well respected here, and as a community mobilizer, KATRA explains the real situation of being a nomadic woman here in Garissa.
Waxa waaye saameynta markii hawada xumaato waxa dhibka aad u qabo waa maamooyinka, waxa guuraayo oo rafaadayo waa maamooyinka, waxa wuxuu ku hagaajinay meeshii la hersanaye markii oraxdiisa u hamaato la hersanaye waa maamooyinka. Aad anaga dan maamooyino markaas iyo mar kale aad baan dhibaatada u qabnaa, aad baan ugu saameynta anagu bayna haysata. maxaa yeelay ninka uu tagaya wuxuu aadayaa xoolihii buu wada, adigana wuxuu dhanba ku gaari wixii guuraya waa adi ilmihii yaraa wixii gacanta waday oo inuu meel seexiyo oo meel u dhisan rabo waa adi markaad ilmihii wato kun arabku ku saaran yahay kuna waa nuujinaysa kuna gacantaad wadaa ratigii waa inaad saarto kasoo dejisato waa inaad fariisiiso oo ilmaha kasoo dejisato meel aad madax u geliso aad hesho maxay saameynta anaga aad noo haysataa marka ka hortagis intay imaanan saameynta saase in laga hortago yaan aad ugu baahannahay.
Even as the dynamics continue to broaden for many like Mariam, agenda officer for a non-profit organization in this place, there is hope in the future, however bleak it might seem.
We appreciate the role of great women, great and icon women in the world like Greta Thunberg, and on the role that she plays when it comes to the whole aspect of climate change. And as the world is focusing on attributing the issues and challenges that are brought about by climate change, we feel like it's high time that gender aspect should be pegged to run hand in hand with the whole aspect of climate change. So climate change and the aspect of gender should go hand in hand so that we are able to articulate the whole phenomenon of gender disparities and the impact that it is caused by climate change and resilience building for the community, especially ASAL community, those as arid and semi-arid areas like Garissa region.
For this great town of Garissa, the puzzle is not as small as first thought, even as gender and climate change continue to threaten the community, and even amongst the most vulnerable, the women and the girls. Experts warn and admit that sustainable management of natural resources and climate change efforts can improve the situation.